Hey, beauty bosses. This is Emily here, and I am in Atlanta, Georgia at the Momentum Conference. And you guys, it has been an amazing experience so far. Truly being in the room with people who are dedicated to building their businesses well and upholding the standard that is just an excellence all the way around. I cannot wait to share with you what they're doing to bring the standard up in their communities and also in their businesses across the board. Tune in. Okay. Hey guys, we are here with Keisha Scales, and she is a business owner, actually a school owner.
Yes.
Yes. So, in specifically nails,
Just nails only. We're a nails only program. Yep.
nails only program. So, tell me a little bit about how you got into the
Oh,
industry.
wow.
Yeah.
Great,
Start
great
there.
story.
Hmm.
Well, I have been a licensed nail technician for 30 years. I
Okay.
know I look 25,
Yeah,
but
that's right.
30 years. But anyway, so nails has always kind of been it started out as a hobby, of
Okay.
course. I was a little girl. I changed my nail polish with my clothes type thing.
Okay.
Never really thought it would be a career driven job,
Uh
right?
huh.
And so as I grew and as the industry grew, because nails has now grown to a $9 billion industry.
Yes.
So now we are part of the conversation. It
Right.
used to be at the red carpet, it was like, who are you wearing?
Right.
And now it's like people are showing their nails as part of how it matches their outfit. So we have
Yeah.
definitely grown in this industry. But for myself, being doing nails was always fun for me. And
Mm-hmm.
so as I got more mature in the industry, I just started wondering how can I continue to give and not just be behind the chair anymore. So that was how the
Yeah.
school came about. So school was kind of like my way of transitioning from doing it every day to now I
Mhm.
can share those experiences.
I love that.
Yeah.
So, with your school, tell me a little bit about what sets you apart from other schools in the area. What are you
I,
doing differently?
I would say the number one thing that sets me apart is that I'm actually still in the industry.
Okay.
Most school owners are just
Out.
investors. There are school owners
Yeah.
that own just that business.
Yeah.
But for me, it's really just feeding into my students the things that I'm still learning every day too. I
Hmm.
share with them all the time. Those new ones that come that are what I call YouTube University graduates, right?
Yes.
we love those.
Yeah.
But I also share with them and let them know I have to stay up on the trends. I have to sit and watch YouTube and
Yeah.
TikTok and do all these things because as a nail tech, I don't want my clients to come into my salon life asking me for something that I know nothing about. So
Right.
I'm able to relate to them on the day-to-day trends, on kind of
Hmm.
what's new, what's kind of happening in the industry. And I'm just not someone behind a business office door that they can
Right.
never see, that they
Right.
can't relate to. And I'm just trying to bring real knowledge to the classroom.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
so important because you're truly wanting to set them up to be successful in the industry, not
Because
just pass.
because business is always changing. And so
Right.
you won't know about those changes if you're not in the business every day,
That's right.
right?
That's
So
right.
we can read about it, but
Mhm.
most of the time something that we read has already happened.
Yeah.
I'm living it daily. So
Mhm.
I'm servicing clients daily. I'm having these conversations daily.
Yeah.
I'm staying up on new products and trends and the
Mhm.
tricks of the industry and all those things. So I just think
Mhm.
giving that personable and I'm in the classroom. So
Right.
I'm the person they see. I'm the
Mhm.
person that comes in and try to be more intentional with what we share
Sure.
and not just being what you saw on a prefab lesson plan. So we're
Yeah.
giving real life, getting them more prepared for what happens after school.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. So, what tips would you give to a student who's maybe looking to get into a school, but what tips would you give them to be successful in
Oh,
your
wow.
school?
I think being successful in my school or any school is really knowing your whys, really
Mhm.
knowing why it's speaking to you and why
So
you think
true.
you want to engage.
Yeah.
Because once you know your why, then it doesn't make doing the work so hard,
Yes.
right? It helps you with the investment part of it because
Yeah.
now I know why I'm investing. Now I know why I'm giving my time. So
Mhm.
just knowing those things is really like your motivation
Yeah.
to kind of get through it because we
Mhm.
all know anything that's different, change is hard for all of us,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
But sometimes when you just got that quiet little cheerleader saying, "We're doing this. Come on, let's keep on
Yeah.
pushing." And we know why we're doing it. I think just makes a world of difference.
Yeah, and I think when you go back to your why, it's like it we talk about there's going to be failures. There's
For
going to be ups and
sure.
downs and things that happen in
Yes.
life that you're like, "Oh, what am I doing?"
Yeah. Yeah.
But when you fail forward and you fail forward towards your
Yes.
goal and like you keep that in the back of your mind just like you said, um it makes the blows
and
easier.
and it
Yeah.
makes the things that we thought about
Mhm.
more realistic. Now they're more
Yeah.
attainable.
Yeah.
Now it doesn't seem like a far-fetched dream. Now it's
Right.
like, oh, I'm a little bit closer.
Uh-huh.
I'm a little bit closer,
Yeah.
like that little engine that could.
Yeah.
I know I can. I know I can.
Yeah,
And
that's
that's
right.
what going through the experience gives you. And that's what I
Yeah.
try to bring to each student that comes in the school. Everyone's different.
Yeah.
Everyone has different perspectives, different morals, different
Yeah.
goals.
Yeah.
But the whole part is you have to learn to invest in yourself.
That's right.
And once you invest in yourself, nobody can take that away.
Yeah.
And so once you can start feeling the goodness of that investment,
Right.
once you can start seeing the reality of it definitely coming to fruition,
Mhm.
it's no longer a thought. I'm putting it now into action.
Yes.
There's no better gratification
Yes.
than that. It's like, wow,
Yeah, it's actually attainable. It's
attainable.
happening.
I
I'm
can
doing
get
it.
there.
Yeah.
And it's so funny when I get students close to the end,
Yeah.
they're like, "Oh, Miss Scales, we're there already." I'm thinking, yeah, guys, you've been
Mhm.
coming here for about 4 or 5 months now. And because they're loving it, it doesn't seem like a long stretched out
Yeah.
4 to 5 months. So I think always bringing the excitement to the classroom. Now, not everything's going to be exciting.
Sure.
Right. We
Yeah.
got to be real.
Right.
Sometimes you're going to either, I always tell students, you're going to leave here loving me or hating me.
Right.
Right.
Let's just be real. That's
Let's be
just
real.
what's going to happen.
But I hope that you leave here loving me
Yeah.
because everything I'm going to share is genuinely from the heart, or
Right.
it's a lesson that I learned. And
Yes.
I'm very open and transparent in sharing
Yeah,
those
and I think
things.
that's so important that you have to be
For
transparent
sure.
across the
For
board
sure.
because then they're actually going to realize, "Oh, she knows. Like she's
I didn't
been
make it
there."
up.
Right. No. She's for real.
I
Like
didn't make it up.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's so good.
So
That's
I'm
so
so
good.
excited about this. So I think with anything that we do, even as business owners, we have to be transparent. We have to let people know I have high days and I
Mm.
also have low days.
Yeah.
But one thing I have to know is I have to keep moving.
Right.
So as long as I keep moving, then I always know I have a better opportunity later. But if I stay stuck in the failure, come on, really?
Yeah.
We know that nobody wants to fail. We don't go into it with the intention to fail.
Right.
But things happen.
Yeah.
As my young students say, life be lifing. Right?
Right.
So you have to be mindful. It's still gonna happen. It's always about how we respond and not how we react.
That's right.
So we have to learn how to respond and
That's
just take a
right.
moment and breathe and figure
Yeah.
out what's going to be the best movement for you. Because what's best for
Right.
you may not work for me.
Right.
But
Absolutely.
having the ability to have someone you can talk to,
Mm-hmm.
to share with, I
Yeah.
think is very, very important.
And I think when you are so transparent, everybody learns to trust you.
For sure.
Like she's going to tell me the truth, whether it is what it is or whatever, And what we always teach is that your business is going to grow at the speed of trust.
Yes.
So if your
Yes.
students can trust you,
Yes.
if they can implement that in their careers
For
and
sure.
their businesses,
For
their
sure.
clientele is
For
going to
sure.
trust them, and you create that loyalty, it's so important.
I always
So
say you teach people how to trust you.
that's right.
You have to show up and you have to be accountable. Like, how can
Mhm.
you expect clients to be accountable if you're never on time?
That's
How
right.
can you expect clients to, trust your process if you're seeming fickle and not quite for sure about what you're presenting? So you
Right.
just have to have that same, I'm going to put out there what I want to receive back.
That's right.
Right? So when you talk about accountability, being intentional, putting your best foot forward,
Right.
then you'll attract those type of clients. You will attract that type
Yes.
of atmosphere. You will attract those, iron sharpens iron. I think
That's right.
we talked about that
Yeah,
yesterday.
that's right.
You have to be around common-minded people.
That's right.
Otherwise, what's the benefit?
Right.
You can't learn from somebody who doesn't know what you know. You
Right.
always want to be where there's more steps for you to move forward, for you to kind of
Right.
grab little gems as I call it,
Right.
and use them. No
Mhm.
need to being in the room and you're not using what you learned, right?
Right. That's right. That's right. Wow, that's so good. Well, thank you so
You're
much for
so
your
welcome.
insight.
It's
I
been so much
appreciate
fun.
it. Has. It really has. I
These
love the
past few
people,
days,
man.
yes, have been great.
Yeah, they really have. And just like truly being in the room with people from all over the US,
Have
not
you
just,
heard all the people here? We got Oregon, we got Delaware.
I
I'm
know,
in Tennessee. You're in Texas,
Texas.
right?
Yep,
So it's spread out, but it just goes to show that the beauty business industry is the same.
that's right.
It's just how you make it fit where you are,
That's right.
and you have to be ready to kind of pivot.
That's right.
You got to be ready to bob and weave, as I say,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because what comes to me in my demographics, you may not have to experience. But
Right.
what if it does?
Right.
You've gotten a little bit more information here to kind of help you to know how to
That's right.
finagle through it.
Right. Yeah.
I know
Navigate.
I know I made that word up, but we have to learn how to just move with the flow of the
That's
experiences,
right.
and don't think that everything is to knock you down.
That's right.
Sometimes that's just how you got to learn.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
That's right.
it's been great. Thank you so very
Yeah.
much.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm excited. So thank you again.
You're
And I
welcome.
look forward to seeing where you go in
I'm
business.
gonna watch you
It's gonna
too.
be good, girl. It's gonna be good. So
Well, listen, thank you again for having me. I appreciate it. All right, see
absolutely.
you soon.
All right.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Just helping other people learn to accept them who they are,
Mm-hmm.
where they're at. Whether right now I'm decided on my last year to just exit the injury. I'm not going to retire, but I
Mm-hmm.
want to do more on the education side, just educating people, because for so long we have covered up stuff. We have, superficial stuff, and now I'm just down to when I leave out, my legacy is going to be education, education,
Okay.
education.
Okay. And what is something that sets your education system, or your your school or whatever you do? What are you offering maybe that other schools are not offering?
I wouldn't really say I don't know so much of what sets me aside, but I'm very, very, very big on theory,
Mm-hmm.
understanding concepts,
Yeah.
what's the trends, understanding the culture, what's going on now. And I would say what sets me aside, I prepare them for salon readiness
Uh-huh.
every day. It's not
Mm-hmm.
so much of passing the board, it's but salon readiness, business, understanding how you're going to achieve those goals.
Yeah. I know, especially schools in my area, that when they're doing their selling points and all, they're like, "Oh, you're gonna pass the board. That's what our goal is." And then that's when the real education starts. Like that was their pitch. I was like, "How?" I mean, you're not even setting people up to actually get into the workforce,
Yeah.
which I knew that and I knew what I was walking into. But I think it's so important for schools to take that stance to where, yeah, state board is just the bare minimum.
Right.
And then we need to get you working,
Right.
to where you're making a livable wage and you can be self-sustained and not have to depend on
Right.
anybody else,
I truly believe that when someone comes to the industry, a lot of
Mhm.
people are gifted, a lot of people already have natural talent. But
Right.
really understanding what they're doing, the concepts behind it was that always been really big for me.
Yeah.
One, when you go out into the real world, the real salon, are you sustainable? Are you profitable? Are you marketable? Are you able to go out and make a career out of this? So you have to go get a job at Walmart or Sally's or whatever, but you can
Right.
actually work in the industry and
Right.
make money.
Right.
That's big for
Absolutely.
me.
It's a huge deal because there's so many people that try to enter the industry. Number one, they don't know how. They don't have mentors to say this is how you do it, or here's kind of
Mhm.
a blueprint on how to break into it, and they just do their education, but nothing happens.
Oh, that's not me.
No,
I
that's
actually,
not you.
that's not me. That's not even me for a little bit.
Right.
One, I own a state board prep center.
Uh
So
huh.
me just focus on state board, that's a whole other business
Yes. Yeah.
just for me. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I do that anyway.
Yeah.
I did that before I owned a school, state
Yes.
board preparation.
Yeah.
So that's not me. When I realized that the people I taught now going to get a job somewhere else other than working in the industry, that become my focus.
Yeah.
I teach business every day, even beyond before we even get into the styling.
Yeah.
Practicals is nothing but practice,
Yeah. That's
but
practice.
understanding how to make it work and profitable. I have a thing I say to my students: I don't care if you do it out your trunk, make it a business.
Mm-hmm. That's right. That's so good. Well, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and everything that you're doing. I appreciate you, and I am excited to see where it goes from here. Hey, Beauty Bosses. We are here on the Beauty Boss Saga podcast at the Momentum Conference in Atlanta, Georgia. And I am here with my sweet friend and mentor, Miss Carla Jones. She is the creator of Momentum.
Yes.
And we are all about raising the standard in business, building 6-7 figure businesses. And I mean, it's just, I'm so excited.
Well, I am so glad to be here on the saga couch with you.
Right. That's right. That's right.
Oh my
So,
gosh.
we let's get into a little bit about how we met
Right.
first.
Okay.
Okay. And I think it was on Facebook, and we are part of these groups, these hair groups, and
Yeah.
oh my gosh, all kinds. And there's all kinds of drama in there. There's all kinds of problems in there that are just common. You see them all the time. And
Right.
then I started to see your answers towards just common problems. And I'm
Right.
like, she gets it. Okay. And me personally, being on a search, being in the industry for over 20 years,
Okay.
you see a lot of stuff.
Yes.
You see a lot of problems. And I honestly was on a search for excellence.
Okay.
Okay. Because I do everything with excellence. You know this,
Yes.
right?
Absolutely. I would say super excellence, and that's on a good side, great
Yeah.
side, not a bad side.
Yeah. So when I started to kind of notice, and then you were putting things out there specifically about elevating the standard, people aren't going to take you seriously unless we do this stuff, and I was like, yes. So tell me a little bit about your journey.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
And getting to this point, I want to hear a little bit about your story and then how you journeyed into where we are now.
Okay. Well, I'm give you the abbreviated version.
Okay.
However, I came into the industry with about 10 years of corporate experience. So no one in my family, so I was not one of those family kind of legacies in the beauty industry. I was literally the first person in my family who's ever gone into this industry. And I never gave it a thought until I was working with General Motors, one of my first positions right out of college, and was in the mall, Tel 12 Mall in Southfield, Michigan.
Okay.
And I didn't know something was going on. This lady was at a table, Meryl Norman. And so I got closer and had a conversation. And this is when I was introduced to sculpted nails.
Okay.
Had no idea. So I don't want to date myself, but it was in the 80s.
Okay.
Okay. In the
Okay.
80s. Late 80s. Okay. Or mid. And I would call myself a mid nail biter, right?
Okay.
Wasn't bad, but she transformed this woman's nails into something beautiful. And I just I've got to try this.
Yeah.
Took me 3 months to get an appointment, but she was the catalyst to the information and my insight into the industry. So when I got my appointment with her 3 months later, because
wow.
she was that booked, and I just fell in love with it. And I was astounded by the fact that I had gone to school all these years to get my bachelor's degree, and she literally had 240 clock hours, and she made like $5,000 less a year than I did. Wow. And I had a bachelor's degree. And I was like, wait a minute. And she got to work part-time, and she was home. And I was thinking, that's got to be the life. I just don't see myself working 30 years in a corporate environment all day. And then they give me a clock.
Yes.
And say, oh, it's been great. And then they don't remember you. So
right.
I really wanted something more. But anyway, we fast forward a few years. I left Michigan, took another position that took me to Illinois. And Illinois was not a licensed state for nails at the time.
Okay.
So my nail tech then started giving me information on where I could acquire training.
Okay.
And that was about a year of doing that. Then I started trying to find people who would let me practice on them.
Yeah.
And then Illinois instituted a law. So I could have been grandfathered in, but me being the one that's education focused, I said, if the state committed to or required a license now, maybe I should go to school. There's something I'm probably missing. So I found a cosmetology school that had a nail program. Had no interest in cosmetology at all. I never have. Just the nails was my thing. I mean, I was just hooked.
But when the owner during the interview found out my background, master's degree in the companies I had worked for, he's like, I really strongly recommend you consider cosmetology. And all I could think about is hair. I was like, I just wear a ponytail. I had long hair.
Uh-huh.
And I said, well, why? He said, because you would have more options in this industry.
Yes.
And that was all he had to
100%.
say.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, well, I'm teachable.
Yep.
Okay. I don't have a desire, but I'm teachable.
Mm-hmm.
And it was the options. And that's what has served me.
Yes.
Because of my business background, I've always approached the industry from a business perspective. I just didn't understand why no one else realized we have two sides. In the book, it tells us textbook, it's art and science.
Yeah.
But I think we have to now say it's art, science, and business.
For sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And so I just never walked away. And because I come from a manufacturing background, and I always tell people manufacturing is pieces, parts, and time, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Hair, pieces, parts, and time.
Exactly.
So the connection for me was I was always able to time and separate things. Like I could tell you how long it would take me to part and pre-base and apply a relaxer based on the inches of, new growth or whatever.
Sure.
So I realized there were small things like that were missing. And these were key critical things that would really enhance the business part of a stylist or professional's business for them that would increase profit.
Yeah.
So while I enjoyed it, and I really wanted to transition from corporate into this industry because it gave me freedom, flexibility, the time I wanted with my daughter. At the time I went to school, she was 4, just turned 5. And I just, being a teen parent, I grew up trying to create a life for me and my son. So there were a lot of things that I missed with him because it was just a journey trying to save us.
Right.
Okay.
Survival.
Right. So when I finished college, met my husband, got married, had the job, then got the baby. That was the order I wanted things in. I realized being in corporate, I now was being taken away from her.
Yeah.
I traveled a lot, manufacturing, pharmaceutical sales, the whole 9 yards. So I said, I need something that will slow it down, at least give me the options. I did consider nursing.
Interesting. Yeah.
Right. I considered nursing in the beauty industry.
Yeah.
And then I chose the beauty industry because I could control every aspect of it.
Exactly.
And so it fit perfectly with the life that I wanted to create and the time I wanted to spend with my daughter.
Absolutely.
And so that happened. And I gave myself 10 years behind the chair, but I think I spent about a total of 17.
Okay.
But I came back into corporate in 2000. Let's see. So I got my license 1994. Finished school in 94, got licensed in 95, January.
Okay.
And I worked behind the chair full time for about 10 years. And I wanted to work long enough until she got into high school. So I said, in high school, I will consider pivoting back into corporate.
Gotcha.
She's going to be gone in 4 years, so
right.
I felt in those 10 years, I gave her what I wanted to give her.
Yeah.
And she would not need mom as much, nor want me.
Yeah. Right.
Like I got my friends,
real.
I'm in high school.
Right. Yeah.
Girl, what do you mean?
Right.
So, but anyway, so I never just forgot about the business, but I've always been connected or tried to create a conduit where I could impart something better for the industry.
Yeah.
And that was always my focus is if we start teaching beauty industry professionals small elements of really how to manage their business and the aspects of the business.
Yes.
And now since the industry has changed because of social media, digital marketing, and all the other tools and AI and the things we have accessible to us, and even the automations we have within the industry with the tools we have, online booking and stuff like that, and just things that make us more efficient, that allows us to focus, that even though stylists don't use as well as they should to understand how to improve their businesses.
Yeah.
That's always been my focus. And so 10 years ago, 2013, I was notified. I was a campus president for a career college in Mobile, Alabama. They were going to do a teach out, close this campus, build a brand new campus, but put their medical facilities in it. And unfortunately, I didn't have a job. They weren't going to transfer me with that. So I just started I was 53 at the time, and I said, I'm over it. I'm done. I'm not sending out another resume.
Yeah.
I'm not. I said, I have a trade. I have a profession, and I'm going to hone in on that.
Mhm.
And so I sat down and evaluated my skill set as if I was applying for myself,
For you,
right?
yeah, yeah.
And I realized doing some research that social media was a new marketing or a new tool that really would provide stylists huge exposure and opportunity if they could learn to use it as a tool, not just as a social platform.
Right.
And so I went back to school. I took a 6 month program or 6 month program with Emory University here.
Mhm.
And I got a certificate in web content management and design.
Mhm.
And then I went to General Assembly and got a digital marketing certification. It was 10-week program. And because I really wanted to understand, I'm the kind of person that what is social media and what's the difference between social media and digital marketing?
Yeah.
Well, when I took the class, I realized that digital marketing is the umbrella, it's the parent, and
Mhm.
every other thing falls under it.
Yeah.
So, email marketing, social media, video, all of that, out of home, billboards, all of that falls under, digital marketing. So,
Mhm.
I was like, hey, I think I can make an impact.
Yeah.
But I couldn't get away from the business part.
Mm.
So every
Mhm.
time I would work with a stylist, I realized that I couldn't set goals until I understood what they were trying to accomplish in the business. So
Right.
hence we go back to business.
Right.
So I worked with stylists, and my goal was to work with stylists. But then I started gravitating because I have career college experience. I've
Mhm.
owned a school in the past.
Mhm.
I worked for Empire Beauty Schools as a 2-time regional director and the first national director of clinic. So for years, people would say, you need to be in the school space. And I avoided it. I loved being an evaluator with an accrediting agency. It kept me connected, but I really wanted to partner with stylists. And that just didn't really work as much as I planned because stylists were just stuck to me where they were. It was a challenge getting them to
Mm.
see there was greater opportunity if they were
Yeah.
willing just to change.
Right.
And because our spaces were changing, stylists were choosing to be more independent. Booth renter was now growing. Salon suites are growing. Commission status was decreasing and declining.
Mhm.
And with the advent of stylists wanting to come into the industry,
Mhm.
I was like, in independent capacity, they really needed to learn the nuances of being a business owner.
Mhm.
And I still think there's an element where we're not providing the education where
Mm.
they have to understand they are the owners. So an owner that you're renting from owes you nothing.
Right.
They're leasing you space as if it were an apartment,
That's it. Mhm.
and you're responsible for everything else.
Yeah.
And I think there's still some muddy waters there
Sure. Oh,
between both
100%.
sides, and
100%.
there's work to be done. But then I started seeing more stylists wanting to leave from behind the chair and come into the school business.
Mhm.
But then when I started working with those who would reach out to me, I realized that what they were lacking was the operational knowledge and the capacity to fully understand what it was required of an owner versus
Mhm.
being the instructor.
Right, because they even working behind the chair and they're in their own business, they're
Yeah,
not operating on a major scale and having a team and having all of those
right.
things. And I know you and I have talked about this before, but taking somebody from a $50,000 a year mindset
Mm-hmm.
to the $100,000 a year mindset, there's a huge jump that has to happen there. And
Yes.
then once they get past that $100,000 mindset, they start clicking and like, oh, there's like you said, you're fishing in your own pool, right? You're
Right.
in your own pond. You got to go out to have the mindset of all the people who are successful in other things, because wealth in business,
Yes.
it's kind of the same across the board. It's
Right.
just what avenue you're working in and
Absolutely.
what you're under. So I think it's so important, and you recognize this, is
Mm-hmm.
that when this it's a natural progression of things on, okay, I've been in the salon for this long, I think I want to open a school. That sounds like a good idea, because my experience, I want it to be better, to
Right.
give back or whatever. I think the intentions are pure.
Absolutely.
So when they get into it and then they're like, oh no,
Right. Like
what
I
have I
didn't
done?
know I would
Right.
have to be. And sometimes I just have to take a step back and say, hey,
Mhm.
what school did you go to? And then
Yeah.
when you went to school, what positions did you see people in? Like, did you
Mhm.
have an admissions rep? Did you have a campus manager or an executive director, whatever they call them? Did you
Mhm.
have an instructor and a director of education? Did you have a student services person? Somebody
Mhm.
had to take care of the facilities and all of this. And now it's clicking. It's
Yep.
like, I didn't know all of this was involved. I just thought I'd be
Right.
the teacher.
Right.
I just want to give back. And I'm
Yeah.
like, and what really happened was in 2020, March of 2020, I kept trying to figure out a better way to service beauty industry professionals who wanted to go into the school business.
Yeah.
And I reached out to my former boss, Mr. Joseph Coretta he was the senior vice president of operations for Empire at the time. He was the one that hired me. And I knew that Joe had left Empire and he was doing independent consulting on a larger scale. So he would be the ones who would consult with multi-site locations that were paying, 25, 50, 75,000, 100 and some thousand for
Yeah.
their services.
Yeah.
So he had reached out to me because he had taken a part-time position and said, hey, I hear that you're still around in the school business and this is what I'm doing part-time. And, if you find a school who might need this product of services or whatever that I'm offering, send them my way. I said, absolutely.
Yeah.
And Joe and I have kept in contact for, throughout the years, but I never asked him for anything.
Right.
So I thought about my thoughts of how could I create something for beauty industry professionals, similar to how he managed us and our team of regionals, right? We met weekly. There was expectations and things we went over and things that we learned. How could I package that in a simpler format for people who didn't have this level of knowledge, but provide them the training to get them there?
Yeah.
I knew they couldn't afford 25,000 and 50,000, not as an individual solo operator. They weren't multi-site. They were transitioning.
Yeah.
And now it's entry level to them. So I wanted something that was affordable, but I knew it would be something that would take at least 12 months. It's not something I can give you overnight and you've mastered it, right?
Right.
I would need to provide you with the knowledge and then help you seek that knowledge and then grow it. You've now got to become a leader. You've now got to become a manager. You have to become the strategic planner. The marketing officer, the financial officer.
Right.
You've got to understand admissions processes and things like that.
Right.
How to market to get the client, because that's your revenue source.
Right.
So it was just so many gaps that I was realizing, but I also knew their funding was limited. Like their resources was not something that a Paul Mitchell had, right? Even a franchisee, you've got to have so much in liquid assets and things like that.
Yeah.
So I wanted to create something that would provide a training pathway.
Yeah.
And so that's how I really got into and startup. As the name startup, I would do what I'm doing individually with startup with persons like yourself who want to get into school ownership. I did it individually and it was one-on-one, and I was like, I need to put something together, package this so I could do it more in group and have an individual component to it. And so after working with a few people, that's where I came up with the outline. And so introducing it to yourselves and a few others who said, hey, I'm on board. Now it's about really massaging it, perfecting it, and turning it over to the masses. But then there's that other side. You've got the school owners who are already here, who've already made the leap, who've already opened.
They're in it. Yeah.
And they're in it. And they're now realizing, I don't know, I didn't realize it was so much. And I do need help, but my resources are limited.
That's right.
I thought I would be able to get the students. And so my thought was what was missing in the industry for them. And it was really a strategic planning kind of training.
Yeah.
Showing them that you're not just a hairstylist who transitioned into school ownership,
Right.
that you are literally the professional who is now over a proprietary institution. And so I wanted them to be able to understand the difference in those roles and then the responsibilities that come with being a CEO of a for-profit proprietary institution
Yeah.
versus the mindset of I want to open a beauty or barber school.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so that's how Momentum was created.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes,
And I
so-
mean, I will tell you the experience here, the people here, the aha moments that, that have happened. Like I told you last night, I was laid down to go to bed after I got my baby to sleep, finally. And I was up till 1 o'clock. Just my mind was just, I'm like, I need to go to bed. Oh my gosh. But truly, and I love that you bring in people, the expert in that field or whatever, and just the way, I mean, I'm gonna cry. As the when Mark came and he was your husband,
Yes.
right? Okay, so that's who he is. He came and he was started talking, and just some of the things that he was saying and how the whole day went with the advertising and marketing and the CPA and all these resources that came in, because they're all missing pieces that nobody tells you what to do, even in business.
Right.
You're like, oh, you have a bookkeeper, but then what is a bookkeeper? A bookkeeper is just somebody who inputs things. They're not looking out for you, and there's no strategy associated
Right.
with it. And so this is the road you need to go, right?
Mhm.
So, but when he said something, I was just sitting there. I think I was just sitting in the moment, and I just thought, God, I am so thankful. I am so thankful for just being able to be here, and got him highlighting you to me. And I want you to know that you were such a blessing. You were such a blessing,
Thank
because I searched and searched and searched for people. And I feel like it's my job to deliver information to people because it is so needed,
Yes.
and to truly gather, like, I protect my circle. Okay. All right. And I'm not going to waste time or energy or anybody with somebody who is just going to give me a lot of fluff. I want the facts. I'm moving forward. Either you can come with me or you're going to be gone, so that is
Like, this train is leaving the
right. Right. So, but truly being in a room that has with people with an elevated mindset,
Yeah.
that is where it all starts. That is where the magic happens. That's where you gain traction and you gain momentum.
Yes.
And truly just it's an answered prayer, really.
And
Really.
that's what I wanted. I wanted a space for school owners and their lead administrators.
Mm-hmm.
And it came out of me being a lead administrator or a executive working with L'Oreal or whoever I was, Pfizer, General Motors. At the end of the day, there are conferences we go to,
Sure.
right?
Sure.
And there are think tank conferences. There
Yeah.
are planning kinds of conferences, and you have people from all over the world.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized we don't have that in the beauty industry.
We do
amongst
not.
Beauty school owners.
That's right.
We have conferences for beauty schools, but they are a combination of everything, and they typically do focus highly on academics.
Right.
And I'm like, that's what I'm trying to get the owner away from.
Right.
I want them to understand, yes, we provide education as an institution for those who are interested in a career in beauty or barbering, nail tech, esthetician. But at the end of the day, who's teaching them how to run a successful, profitable higher education institution?
Yes, absolutely.
And then
Right.
understand what that real role is.
What that means.
Yes. So that they can have that 7-figure or 8-figure school business, that multi-site location, and they understand how to do that.
Right.
And so that's what I wanted to bring to the industry. And that's why I've committed to, this is a no vendor industry, event.
Right.
I don't want you guys distracted. It is 3 days of business operations. So it's your role as the chief executive officer, chief marketing officer, and chief financial officer.
Yeah.
There's some other things in between that, but those are the top 3. Because when we look at what drives the revenue in our schools, it's either admissions with the enrollments, all right? So how is our marketing there? The CEO has to set the stage, the strategic plan, where are we going, the direction and the roadmap, and understanding the finances,
Yep.
how all this ties together.
Yeah.
And so that's why, and I'm even limited, like Yes, we brought in speakers, but I like to say they're trainers.
Yeah, and that's
Yeah,
true.
they are
That's true. They were
trainers.
truly training
Exactly.
on, different aspects of things.
Exactly.
So
So
yeah,
it's not where, oh, we're introducing you high and
right.
no, we want to get down to the nitty gritty of the things that you are going to be faced with or are currently faced with day to day.
Yeah,
Whether it's that student issue and how everything impacts something that you do that ties into revenue generation, increase or decrease.
that's right.
Yeah. So,
Yeah,
it's been, I can't believe we're on day 3.
I know.
I can't. It's gone by so fast.
It really
And
has. Yeah.
I'm like, man, I could do this another 2 days.
Right. I could too.
I could do it another 2 days.
I could too.
Because there's something else like, okay.
There's
but we're
so
gonna
much. Yeah.
And so that's why I want people, and this is why, when we had conversations about even conferences that I attend, and, I talked about when you fish in the same pond, it's the same conversation.
Yeah.
It's the same people. So
Right.
you're not really being exposed to other things.
Right.
And that's why I'm intentional to bring the trainers from outside of the beauty industry that have managed corporate entities for the large, whether they're Fortune 100, Fortune 50, whatever, and that can truly give you a different perspective, but it's still operations and business.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if it's a bottle of Coke or if it's a bottle of shampoo. At the end of the day, there are still those same elements I need to consider to make this a success.
That's right. The principle is the same across the
Yes.
board because you still got to move the product. You still got to move the
Yep,
service.
I still have
Yeah.
to know who I'm trying to get it into the hands or
Absolutely.
in the seat or whatever. Who am I talking to? And what do I offer? How do
Right.
I communicate that to the masses?
Yeah.
How do I look at and evaluate a true competitor? Not people who just provide education, but how do I identify and what criteria do I use to say, okay, we are competitors, right? And listening to the messaging and says, how do I separate myself? And it'd be interesting. Mark is going to share too through today about claiming your position,
That's right.
right? So, I always think about it as the first man that landed on the moon, and I put the flag. That's what I want you guys to think about is, this is my mountain, this is, my moon, and I'm claiming this territory.
Yeah.
But then what do I want to be known for?
Right. Absolutely.
So how do I become top of mind for everybody who's looking for this?
Right.
So I don't care if it's a Paul Mitchell in your community. I really don't. And I don't care if you think you're the smallest fish. I want them paying attention to you.
Right.
That's my goal for the small solopreneur owner.
Yeah, and I think it's so important too because you see a lot of school owners or business owners, they do not have the posture of I'm the professional, I'm the one who is the CEO. They're still split. They're double-minded, and a double-minded man is unstable, right? So if they're going and, they're in the classroom and they're doing this and they're not focusing on what they need to be focusing on to move this thing in the direction it needs to go.
You're the visionary.
And that's your job.
I mean, I always tell people,
Yeah.
would you like to get your chips or your Coke from the pilot on the plane?
Yeah, no.
No. Okay?
Who's on the plane?
Right, who's on the plane? I want the pilot
Right.
where he needs to be.
Right, and focused.
That's your role. And I want, to share with, I have a passion. I mean, I'm an instructor, former school owner. Do not think I don't want to get in the classroom.
Right.
I swear I walk in everybody's school. I want to be in my first place is to go directly to the classroom.
Yeah.
However, as the owner, I have to understand I can go in that classroom after. Everybody understands the vision. And I've checked on all of these other little points of the business.
Right.
And if I want to go in, but my true job is not the instructor.
Right.
I've got to be the captain of the ship. I've got to
Right.
be the pilot.
Yeah. And then two, it's your job to empower
Yes.
your instructors to serve,
Yes.
not hoard over,
Right.
but serve
And
your
support.
students. Yeah.
Serve and support.
Right.
Yes.
And that's truly when I look at things, I'm like, man, it's my job to create leadership. Create leadership in the instructors pool and empower them to do what the vision is or the mission is or whatever it is. And then also so that they can empower the students
Absolutely.
to do what they got to do to
Right.
create a career around their passion.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
so I think that's something very important, and you see a lot of this here. Everybody is wanting to. They have a servant's heart,
Yes.
which makes them a great leader. And at
Yes.
the end of the day, that's what it
Mhm.
is. And yeah, I'm just floored on how well this has been done.
Yeah. Well,
Which I'm
thank
not
you.
surprised, but floored because it's very rare to see that. There's a
Oh,
lot of fluff on a lot of stuff. When you get there, this is like this could have been a download, you
right.
know?
And you know what I was, and I shared with you,
Mhm.
when you look at who's coming, meaning people are making investments and they are driving, flying, however they get here. And
Mhm.
for this to be hosted in Georgia, but
Mhm.
as far as Oregon, Texas,
Mhm.
South Carolina, New York, people sacrifice to get here. I need to
Absolutely.
deliver. I need to
Absolutely.
make sure that I fully understand. I
Mhm.
don't care, like I said, your top one thing, I want to make sure I can cover your top one thing that, hey, if I walked away with this one thing, I'm good.
Yeah.
But I know what I came here to deliver and provide to you guys.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Yes. Job well done. And
Thank you.
like I said, I didn't expect anything less, really.
Well, I want to serve and support with excellence.
Hmm.
And, excellence is a standard that has to be created.
That's right.
And I think most people think it just happens,
It
and it
does not.
doesn't. So,
Mhm.
yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you for your time. Like I said, I'm excited. I'm excited to work alongside you, and I'm so excited that you're in my circle.
Me too.
Yeah.
Look, I just know, I just think it was spirit led,
Yeah, I agree.
and a lot of times I've been asking the Lord, just send me the people that I should be serving.
Hmm.
And it just makes it so much easier when there is like-mindedness,
Yeah.
there's a connection somewhere. I always just think it's a sister spirit
Right.
connection, right?
Right.
And so, or divine, however,
That's right.
you know.
Well, I will tell you, for the past 3 years, I've been praying for divine connection and divine appointments. And I will tell you, even through the Beauty Boss saga, the people who sit down in front of me, and I'm like, wow, I had no idea you had all this in the
Okay.
back of your mind, or what you're planning on doing or whatever. It's just phenomenal. I'm like, okay, thank you, Lord, for aligning me with the people that you want me and that you're
Yeah.
purposed for
Yeah.
your purpose at the end of the day.
At the
So
end of the
you
day.
are so right. And I'm excited.
Well,
And I'm
I
thank you
thank
so
you.
much. Thank you.
And I'm on the beauty bus saga. All
All
right.
right. Well, we have a conference to get
Yes,
to.
we do.
And so we will stop here. And again, thank you so much for being
You're
on.
welcome, and thank you for being here.
Uh,
So, yay.
Hey guys, we are here with Miss Tisha, and she has a school, cosmetology school. So I'm excited to see exactly what you're doing, what you're planning. Again, we're here at the Momentum Conference, and it has just been phenomenal being in the same room with people like you and getting to really learn off of each other and grow. It's so exciting. But anyway, tell me a little bit about how you actually got into the industry from the beginning. Tell me a little bit about your story. Just
Okay.
go from there.
First of all, I want to say thank you for allowing me to be on.
Oh, of course.
I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
And I'm Tisha McDonald from Alternatives Beauty School. I got started when I was very young. I
Uh-huh.
started by braiding hair at
Okay.
5 years old. And
Okay.
at 12, I got my first pay. So then
Okay.
I knew that that would be the way for me to go.
Hmm.
Um, I have a little bit of a not so good backstory.
Okay.
My mother, she was beaten to death.
Oh
She
my
died when
gosh.
I was 12. My father died a year later. He was a heroin addict and he died of AIDS.
Oh my gosh.
They were single parents, so we have no aunts and uncles. I'm the oldest of five, and we were all put in foster care.
Oh my
And my
gosh.
sister and I were identical twins, so they
Okay.
kept us together, but they
Okay.
split us from our brothers, and my brothers were split from each other. So
Okay.
we all were raised kind of differently.
Okay.
And the braiding is what kept me going throughout because we were in foster care, like I said, but we
Mhm.
went to a group home, then we were in different foster homes until we got to one good foster home where the foster mom, she passed away in 2020.
Okay.
Um, She said, "There's 5 of y'all. I'm going to get all 5 of you together." And that's the way she raised us. She raised us all 5
Wow.
together. But
Wow.
because at this time my brothers were so in the street, she couldn't handle my brothers. She had to put them back in
I
care.
see. Okay.
So, but as I'm braiding hair, as I'm getting older now, first of all, I would run around in mask. So I always took care of my skin.
Uh-huh.
And then the braiding, she kept saying, "You need to braid, you need to braid, you need to do hair." But my sister, we're twins, like I said, I was always the pretty, dumb twin. And
Oh.
my sister was always the ugly, smart twin.
Oh,
So
wow.
my sister was always in the books, and I was always into beauty and stuff like that. So it's always a comparison when you're twins.
I
And
see.
I try right now not to compare my kids because every child is different.
Yeah.
And for years, I felt like I was stupid. I felt like I was dumb because that's what I kept being told. And she felt ugly. And we're
Oh.
identical. We look just alike.
Yeah.
But she felt ugly because people kept saying that I'm the pretty twin and she's
Wow.
the ugly twin, you know.
Yeah. I mean, there's so much in the power of the tongue, right? And what you speak over people and truly
Yes.
what they believe. And I mean, how that creates the trajectory of their
Yes.
life, you know,
Yes.
and how they feel about themselves. So, wow, that's crazy.
So I was grateful that my grandmother, I call her grandma,
Yeah.
saw Tisha go into the beauty industry. But my grandfather was not having that because we were the first, my sister and I, to even graduate high school.
Okay.
Both my parents dropped out of junior high.
Oh, wow.
So we were the first to graduate high school. So he said, "No, y'all are going to college." So I went to college, a 2-year college on a 4-year plan. I was never going to graduate.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
and then I dropped out. And
Uh-huh.
in 1991, I went to school for nails in New York City. I went to school for nails. And my grandfather was like, "You're not going to make any money doing that. Who, you know, who does nails?"
Uh-huh.
And so he was telling the truth because at that time, there were not many African-American women doing nails.
Yeah.
And even today, it's still kind of hard to get in that space. You find more now, but not
Right.
in 1991.
Right.
Fast forward, 2 years later, I went to school for aesthetics. Christine found me, one of the #1 schools in New York City for skincare.
Wow.
However, because I had a nail license, I worked on Saks Fifth Avenue. They wouldn't let me get to the back room for aesthetics. I still had to stay in the nail section.
Really?
Fast forward 5 years later, my teacher from nail school said, "Tisha, you were the #1 student in my class. I would like to," at that time you had to be appointed to be an examiner.
Okay.
And she put my name into the state of New York for me to become a state board examiner for New York City for the nail tech.
Wow.
So I was so
That's
grateful. She's probably
amazing.
passed away by now, but Miss B, if you're out there, thank you so much.
Yeah.
I love you. I never forget it. I
Yeah.
still have my stubs from 1993
Yeah.
or 1990, whatever it was.
Uh-huh.
And so that's what I did. So that was in New York. So I have 10 licenses in 4 states.
Wow.
And I'm working on 3 more states to get my licenses.
Wow.
Fast forward, I work for some really good people. I'm known nationally and internationally for my work braiding. Because
I
no
love
matter
it.
what I did, I still went back to braiding. No
Yeah.
matter what job I had, I still went back to braiding. And to this day, I make more money doing hair than any other job.
Right. Yeah, that's so good.
Yes.
And the thing is there's money in it.
Yes.
If you
for
just
sure.
if you hone in on that skill and you become the master of that skill,
Yes.
you can make so much money. And there's so much
Yes.
money, especially nowadays in this industry.
Yes.
Whereas maybe back, you know, in the day, they'd be like, "Oh, you can't make money." And that's one thing my dad was worried about too, is like, you know, because I wanted to go to a cosmetology school from the get-go. And
Okay.
he's like, "No, you gotta go to college," because he never went to college.
Okay.
He's an entrepreneur, but never went to college. And so I was like, okay, I did. And I did the nursing thing and I did all of that. I
Okay.
became a
And that's what
nurse.
my sister is.
Really?
We're twins.
Yeah.
And she's a nurse. But let me tell you, I'm a funeral director.
Oh, really?
So she's like, "Tisha, you work with the dead and I work with the living."
Yeah.
So again, there's that opposite again.
Yeah.
But go ahead, I'm sorry.
Yeah, absolutely. So, but then I got some experience in nursing and I was like, okay. And I've always had my business, my side hustle that turned into a career. And, you know, there's so much, some of the brightest and most wonderful people, smart people are in this industry, not any
Yes.
other. I mean, there's smart people in nursing, but to an
Yes.
extent. But I mean, it's constantly innovative and ever
Ever
changing,
changing.
and now we're just, that's why we're here. People like me and you are just elevating the
Yes.
standard. The whole
Yes.
point of this thing is to raise the standard in
Yes.
this industry, and it's gonna happen. It's
Mhm.
gonna happen. So anyway, all right. So then you have a school. Where is your school located?
My school is located in Delaware.
Okay.
I had my salon in the Poconos, that's where I'm from,
Okay.
for 16 years. I
Okay.
just closed in January so that I can open up the school.
Okay.
And the school just opened in October 3rd.
Okay.
So I
It's
am
fresh.
now enrolling.
Yes.
I am now enrolling. But I wanted people to see that, okay, you can come from humble beginnings
Sure.
and you
Absolutely.
can make it. When I was in school, I don't know if I can say this, but I graduated from Paul Mitchell
Okay.
and I taught at Empire.
Mm-hmm.
They give you little bits and pieces about business,
Sure.
but they don't really say you can own a school.
Yeah.
It's like in a little fine print.
Yeah.
But I want to show people the roadmap to how to get there. They'll say you can own a business, you could work for, but now today's generation, they don't want to work for anyone.
Right.
But are we clearly preparing them for entrepreneurship?
Yeah.
And the
That's so right.
schools, to me, are not preparing them for entrepreneurship.
I absolutely
Yeah.
agree with you. And that's one thing that people, when they get out of school, they don't know which way's up, first of all. And they're hit with booth rent, they're hit with commission stylists, they're hit with, do I go into my own business? And some people are just not cut out for that. You know what I mean? So I think it's important that you show your students their options, okay? And what resonates with them.
Yes.
Because you can be the best worker. You can look and say, you know what, I can go through a salon management course maybe and be the best manager for somebody else's business, because I want to go home at the end of the day and not have to bring my work home.
Right.
Right. So truly having that conversation about which direction do you want to go. This is the game we're playing. What piece do you want out of it? So having them understand that, and then show them how you truly prepare them for a career.
Yes.
Versus, congratulations, you graduated school and now you've passed the exam, and now what?
Now what?
Now what? And I go back to when you have students and they're all confused. A confused mind does nothing. They don't even, some of people just don't even stay in the same industry. They're like, I can make I can make more money working as a receptionist at a pool company than being in this industry that I went to school for, which is so sad to me.
That's true. One of the things I always like to ask my students, what's your niche?
Yep.
What do you want to be known for? From a child, I knew natural hair care.
Right.
When I went to Paul Mitchell, she kept saying avant-garde, avant-garde. Me and my teacher would get into it because I was in my 30s by the time I went to get my license for cosmetology.
Yeah.
I'm like, I know I won't be doing this. You never know I know I won't be doing
Right.
it. And we still speak today. And I thank her for, trying to encourage, but I was never into cut and color.
Right.
And to this day, I am natural hair care, braiding, locking, weaving. And so I also feel like the young people need to know community give back.
Absolutely.
Community give back. What kind of salon do you want to work in when you get out? Are you going to work for a salon that gives back? My school will be giving back. One, we always do for women and children because my mother was a victim of domestic abuse.
Absolutely.
So we give back to that. Because I was a foster child, I always give back to children and youth.
Yep.
But now I've just become certified to work for a company. It's a nonprofit called Look Better, Feel Better.
Okay.
And that's for cancer patients.
Yes.
So in my school, a requirement will be for us to make wigs for women who have cancer, alopecia, autoimmune disease. And that's how we give back to the community. Because some of the bigger schools give back globally, but what are you doing in your community?
Right.
How are you building the community? And so
Absolutely.
I think that's very important to give back to the community.
I love that. And having that piece to where your students learn, it's a learned behavior to think outside of themselves. And with me, what I always teach, there's laws, there's laws to wealth, there's laws to all these things. And either you believe like you have to give to get. Okay. You reap what you sow, what goes around comes around. So you want to put that energy out there so that when it comes back, it comes back.
Yes.
You're getting blessed left and
Yes.
right, you know,
Mhm.
and the connections you make when you have somebody else that you're blessing, it's always going to
Yes.
come back.
Yes.
You know, so I love that. I love incorporating that aspect. It's
Mhm.
so important
Yes.
to have that aspect in your school,
Well,
for
thank
sure.
you. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay, so if you have a student who is looking for a cosmetology school,
Mhm.
what is something that sets your school apart? What are they going to get at your school that they may not find somewhere else?
Okay, so there's so many things.
Yeah.
There's so many things. One, a lot of schools are saying that they teach natural hair care, braiding and weaving and stuff, and they say it, but they're not doing it.
Gotcha.
And so I would speak at a lot of different schools, major schools,
Yeah.
teaching business, because
Uh-huh.
that's another part that they don't get a lot of in some of the bigger schools. They don't go into detail about entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
So one thing that set me apart is the natural hair care and braiding. The second thing is learning business. We need to learn business.
Yeah.
Professionalism. How do you go out? How do you represent yourself? Some of these
Yes.
schools I go in, I don't know if I even can say this, but one school I worked at, sitting right in the front, because she was a senior, so she was on the floor,
Uh-huh.
spandex, but I could see her
Everything.
fleshy
Yeah.
behind through the spandex because they were so thin.
Yes.
How are you allowed to stay in school like that? That's not
Yeah.
professional.
Right.
And so we got to teach professionalism.
Right.
At my school, we have a nonprofit,
Mhm.
and with that nonprofit, we're going to have etiquette coaches come in.
Love it.
What else separates me? We're going to have a mental health worker come in once a month.
Yes.
And she's going to come for the day class as well as the night class.
Yeah.
Because right now we see more mental illness. And if you know that you
Yes.
suffer with mental illness, but you want to own your own business, we need to know what's going to set you off, what's going to make you tick,
That's right.
and how would you calm yourself down.
Right. You have to learn coping mechanisms
Yes.
to get through those
Yes.
moments, because it's going to be rough. There's a lot of
Yes.
this, you know.
Yes.
So
So those
yeah,
are three major
so
things that
good.
separate me from my they're not even competitors. These are
Right.
I said it yesterday. We're not competition. We are, it starts with a C. I said it yesterday. I can't think of the word now.
Yeah. And that, again, if you think about
We're
it,
colleagues.
oh, there
We're
you go.
colleagues. We're
So
colleagues.
we're not competition, we're colleagues.
Yes.
Yes, that's so good. Okay, well, you know, is there anything, like, for a student that's at your school, what tip would you give them to be successful and to see it through?
To be successful, you have to put in the work.
Yes.
It's not easy, no matter what Instagram, TikTok, Facebook says. You have to put in the work. It's a lot that goes in behind the scenes, and you have to stay the course and see it all the way through. Don't give up. It's going to get hard, but anything worth having is not going to come simple.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. So good. Well, thank you so much for your time. I've really enjoyed getting to meet you. And I can't wait to see how successful your school is. It's just going to be so good.
It's amazing. It's
Yep.
going to be amazing. It's amazing. I'm not going to say it's going to be, because
It
it
is.
already is.
Right.
Yes. And thank you so much for having me on.
Absolutely.
Yes. Thank you.